great Maimonides, the Rambam, tells us in Hilchot Gerushin, chapter 11, Hisi'ua shelo leda'ata. A minor girl who was married off by her mother or brother, with her consent, is considered married by rabbinic law, and she may annul the marriage by means of a refusal. If she was married off without her consent, a refusal is not required. Likewise, if she was married off with her consent when she was a minor, so young that she did not know to keep her betrothed safe, a refusal is not required. So, continuing our discussion of yesterday, we're dealing here a lot with Hilchot Mi'un, the right of refusal. The case, as we explained yesterday, of a minor girl, just to keep her in the framework of protection, since she lost her father, the opportunities by this view of the Rambam, not only in a way mother or brother, but any other apotropos, any other authority who in charge temporarily over her rights, can marry her off, but that manner of marriage is not biblical, it's rabbinic. So the manner of tfisat kiddushin, meaning to have that betrothal taking effect in a way that she have the right of refusal, that's part of our discussion. So where we are the Mishnah, page 107b, on the very bottom of the page. Here are some circumstances that, as much as we said that there is a rabbinic framework of marriage that can be abrogated, can be annulled later on in life of the minor, איזו היא קטנה שצריכה למען. The Mishnah asks, who is a minor girl who needs to perform a refusal in order to annul her marriage? So again, imagine is a girl, 5, let's say, years old. She lost her father, and now, for example, the oldest brother married her. She has the right later on, as we explained yesterday, to come up when she reached adulthood, 12 years and 1 day, and she may say, I'm not of interest to stay or to marry to this man, and therefore she can be released from that marriage. Now, since the whole concept of marriage is in order to protect her by rabbinic law, כל שהסיעוה אימה ואחיה לדעתה, as long as the manner of marriage was made in her consent. You may ask, what do you mean consent, since she is a little girl? But still, in some manner, we understand that she agreed upon, at least in some manner of consent. Now, it's not, as we said, it's not only mother or brother, it can be others. Hisi'ua shelo leda'ata, as the Rambam tells us based on this Mishnah, if the mother, the brother, married this young girl, young minor, without her consent, einat tzricha lema'en, so she can go ahead and marry anyone she wished to when she reached the adulthood, and she doesn't need to go to a process of refusal, because originally speaking, at the time when she was a minor, it was without her consent. Which, by the way, in the Middle Eastern culture, I saw it, but it's also in African culture. To this very day, it happens that the adult family members marry the young daughter or set up marriages in a very early age, even with the young minor. רבי חנינא בן אנטיגנוס אומר, כל תינוקת שאינה יכולה לשמור קידושיה. He said, any girl who is so young that she cannot keep the money or document of betrothal safe, אינה צריכה למען. She doesn't need to go to this process of refusal, because the rabbis instituted marriage only for a girl old enough to understand what she's doing. So this manner of tfisat kiddushin, this manner of betrothal, as we said, even by the rabbinic framework, it's doesn't have a chalot kiddushin. There is a vignette of that I would like to share with you. It's a Gemara in Tractate Gittin, page 65. The Gemara said that there are 3 stages of da'at, of understanding, when it's come to minor. It's the lowest, if you give him a package, something, and he throw it away. Then you go and you give him a nut, for example, so he take it, and the issue here is a minor that take it is already, according to some view, it's some manner of consent, and then when she reached the age of adulthood, she needs the refusal process. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Ein ma'aseh ktana klum. He said the act of a minor girl is absolutely nothing. So the manner of the mother or brother marrier of the marriage is essentially invalid. And you treated not as a married woman, ela kimfuta, the same way as we treated a situation of someone who seduced unmarried woman. This framework you treated her, and consequently, Bat Yisrael, if you have a regular girl that she's a minor, that married lekohen, she married a priest, lo tochal biturma, she have no right to eat those special food that attribute solely to a kohen, the consecrated item. Ubat kohen, and vice versa, if you have a minor daughter of kohen that she married a regular Yisrael, tochal betruma, which means she kept in either manner the original status. You do not treat her as essentially a married woman. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer, that's the last verse of the Mishnah. He says otherwise. Kol akava shehu bin ha'ish, he said, if is any obstruction in the matter due to the man, ke'ilu ishto, you treated as she were his wife. And the same vice versa. Kol akava she'eina min ha'ish, if you have any matter that it's obstruction that is not because of the man, so he said ke'ilu eina ishto, so you don't treat it as his wife. So the Gemara later, Rashi said, explain to us when it's because of him, when it's not, because there are some framework that she is in a either state of anxiety, fear, all kind of situations because she's a minor and she intimidated by him. So you have to understand what is the obstruction or delay of release that caused by him, and you attribute it toward him or to her. First part, Amar Rav Yehuda ve'amre la b'matnita Tana. That's the first phase of the Gemara. Barishona, originally speaking, the ancient time, hayu kotvim get mi'un. That's the language they used to write the bill of divorce, that is not a regular bill of divorce that we have in a manner of marriage and get and regular break up of divorce, but here is the refusal document, which in a way it's only a proof that she refused, and you do not treat it, that Smag said, the same as a regular get, a bill of divorce that treated it in the manner of gerushin. Here is the language, quote, and again this is an Aramaic. Lo ra'eina be, I do not desire him. Velo tzaveina be, and I do not want him, right? Veleit anabaya leitanasavale, and I do not wish to be married to him. Right? So this is the three languages of refusal. Kevan dechazu denafish dibura. Since the sages saw that there are a long text, it's too long, Amrei, the sages said, Kufchet 108, Atei le'i chalufei begita. Someone who's uneducated with all the laws of Gitin, as we said several times. Kol sheino baki, if someone is not erudite, betiv Gitin vekidushin, is not familiar with these laws of marriage and divorce, al yehi lo esek imahem, he should not get involved. So Tosfot as well as Rashi tells us that there is a specific language need to be written, and since the concern is that people mix up between the two separate documents, the documentation of get mi'un, the bill of divorce of refusal, versus the regular manner of bill of divorce that have many different consequences for its own validity, takinu hachi. This is the rule they put in order to have a bill of divorce of refusal. Biyom ploni, in a certain day, may ana plonit, this is the name of that person, female, right? Bat ploni, the daughter of so-and-so, be'an pana, at the front of us, as we said, that it has to be the present of the court, of rabbinic court. So this language is succinct, it's short, it's lucid, and it's not more than just a proof that she refused at the front of the Bet Din, and therefore people will not mix this document with the regular documentation of the get, of the bill of divorce. Now, the Gemarrah bringing a Braita that extrapolates the manner of refusal. Tanu Rabbanan, eizehu mi'un. What constituted a refusal? Amra, ifshi beploni ba'ali. If she said, I don't want so and so, my husband. Sometimes it can happen under influence, right? Maybe she's drunk, maybe who knows. But we talk about regular manner. She said, I don't want. Or, oh, I'm mad at my mother and my brother. They marry me off. And I'm not interested in that. Yater al ken. Further on, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Afilu yoshevet be'apirion. In those days, they used to take a bride with a special wagon, fully decorated like a queen, and they carry her in that manner to the chuppah. So that's a lot of fun, right? Imagine the dream of a girl. She's dressing with a white gown, and people put her in this beautiful caravan, and all the decorations, etc., etc. And she said, "Oh, she sit there and v'olechet mibeit avia lebeit ba'ala," and she's about to go from her father's house to the soon-to-be her husband. Ve'amra, ifshi beploni ba'ali, zeu miun. So it means she's not interested in that. So you can say that. So obviously you don't want. Get out. Get out of this apirion. Why are you staying there? We don't say that. Do you know why? Look how smart are the rabbis. They understand the mindset and the psychology behind that. this is a little girl, this is a minor, all her friends watching her, right? She feel pretty, she feel that she get full attention, right? But she's not of interest in that, but she's intimidated, she's afraid, what are my friends going to say? What is the other man's going to say? What my brother and mother going to say? So she doesn't want to do all of that, but in a way she have fun sitting there, in a big fancy wagon, and she's totally torn, right? She doesn't want that, and we understand in a way because we're accepting that mi'un, that right of refusal, since she's a minor. She's established her strength to stand up for her rights. יותר על כן אמר רבי יהודה, אפילו היו אורחים מסובין בבית בעלה. She's now serving guests at the husband's house. והיא עומדת ומשקה עליהם. She is serving food. ואמרה להם, she is whispered to one of the guests, right? For example, אי אפשי בפלוני בעלי. I don't want this man to be in my life, right? One of his friends, right? For example, הרי הוא מיון. Now, what your mindset may say? Come on, these guests are not a bet din, they're not a formal edim, but the rabbis tells us, they said that he have here a retroactive affirmation of her mindset, of her act. Because she is saying that, it means deep in her heart she's not interested in the type of marriage. Now, here you differentiate, since it's a rabbinic framework of marriage, that you treat it in a very different way, that is a biblical marriage. יותר על כן אמר רבי יהודה. This is special phrase for Raphael. Listen to this. What Rabbi Yehuda said, אפילו שיגרה בעלה אצל חנווני להביא לו חפץ משלו. They have a grocery store close to their house, all right? So the husband sending her to buy something at the grocery store. ואמרה, and she's talking to the guy selling, right, at the store, and she said, I hate my husband. אי אפשי בפלוני בעלי. I can't stand my husband, right? אין לך מיול גדול מזה. This is the most act of refusal that we must accept. So as our Mr. Raphael Nakash tells us, as a head doctor, right? He is a, how do you call it? A hairstylist? Is that correct to say? He's a license, what is called cosmology? Cosmetology, azoigatus. So in Maryland, you need to have a license for that. So he said, Rabbi, he always, what he said all the time. He says, you have these ladies, they sitting on the chair, they tell you their whole life story. The moment you put the gown, how do you like me to treat your hair? He's staying there for who knows, for an hour or two. She tells you everything and anything in her life. Right? He tells her all the time. That's the reality. So here you see the guy who's in the grocery store. They figure out whom is going to say what. So they tell him, I can't stand my husband. I don't wish to be in this type of marriage, right? So here you may say, well, this guy at the grocery store, this guy at the hair salon, okay? It's just one guy. He's not a bet din. He is not the formality of the quorum. Maybe she's just angry because he sent her out to do something for him. The big chidush is, it is treated as a mi'un. It is treated as a refusal. Even, again, is no form of bet din. It may out of anger. It's only one person, etc. It's just reveal what she have in her heart. The Ritva said the whole concept of two witnesses or bet din is the way that we wish, lechatchila, the way that we wish to. But b'di'avad, after the fact, it's taking an effect, which is in a way an amazing thing, if you think about it. Rabbi Chanina ben Antignos omer, kol tinoket. We learn in the Mishnah that Rabbi Chanina ben Antignos said that any girl who is so young that she cannot keep her betrothed safe does not need to refuse. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, halacha ki Rabbi Chanina ben Antignos, which in many ways makes sense. Now, the Gemara bringing a special braita that dealing with the circumstance of a minor married without refusal of the first husband, meaning, Tana, you have an orphan minor, Ktana shelo mi'ana, she did not exercise her rights of refusal. Ve'amda v'niset, she married and now is the second one. Meaning she married someone and without the process of refusal, now she went ahead and married the second one. Mishum Rabbi Yehuda ben Beter amru, nisu'eha hen mi'uneha. Meaning, the way that we wish to is to go over the process of saying, I don't want to stay with this man, and exercise the refusal, and then she can go ahead and marry the second one. But here you see a retroactive act of affirmation, which is in a way annulment of the original marriage by doing this action, which means being a doer without being a talker. In this sense, it's sufficient to affirm the change of refusal.
If she changed in that way and went and married somebody else, don't she prohibit not to both of them?
That's the key point of this discussion. It's a good idea, but think about it. The marriage of a minor girl is a marriage by rabbinic law.
Mm-hmm.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, we said that she have full right to refuse them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the big question is, when she refuses in a regular manner, then she can go ahead and marry someone else, just by refusing.
Yeah.
Here we said by marrying someone else, even without expressing her refusal manner, it's already affirmed that she cannot stand her first husband,
Okay.
and even she's not expresses in word.
Okay. That's
So the Gemara have an issue with that. All right, it's a predicament now. Come, Ibaya lehu, they're going to challenge that. Nitkadsha mau, she just want to give a warning signal to her husband. So what did she do? After she married as a minor to someone by her brother or by the mother, she now went ahead and she only betrothed to the second man. Right? So she does that in our assumption to warn the husband that he should be aware that she is about to break up the marriage, right? So, do you considering the manner of betrothal to the second man as a manner of refusal for the first man, or only manner of full act of marriage? Then you have a total retroactive act of affirmation for refusal that otherwise that she is not desire the first husband. The Gemara respond and they said, Tashma, I bring you a source to this. You have an orphan, female girl orphan. Ktana, she's a minor. Shelo me'ana, she did not exercise the refusal against her husband. Ve'amda v'nitkadsha, but she went ahead and betrothed to the second man. Mishum Rabbi Yehuda ben Beter amru, kiddusheha hen mi'uneha. That's basically what we said earlier. Mm-hmm. That the acceptance of betrothed alone by itself we treated as a refusal of the first one.
But didn't we say before it was nesuim?
Mm-hmm. That's the point. That's the chidush.
Mm-hmm. But here it's. I mean, they didn't say that kedushin was.
That's the chidush.
Was refusal.
That's the chidush. So they said Ibaya. We have several problems that we just now we're going to have sharsheret, a long list of sfekot of quandaries. Mm. It's not so. Just remember, it's only process of discussion yet. You mean to say that the majority of the sages disputed this view of Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera and they prohibited her to the second man until she unequivocally, clearly said that she refusing the first husband, or you may say, lo, the majority of the sages did not dispute Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, And they also hold that if she betrothed or married to someone else, it's already considering as a refusal. If you tell me that the majority of the second man disputed Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira, Bekidushin, so it means that this is Gilui Dad, this is a retroactive act, that she is not interested in the first one, or Afilu Benisuim, that's what David just asked. That even in a matter of marriage they disputed him, and they hold that even if she married to someone else is not considering as a refusal of the first one, and she is prohibited to the second one until she expresses clearly in her own word that she is refusing the first. V'im timtze lomar, and if you tell me pligei afilu benisuin, if you tell me that the majority of the sages disputed Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira, even in a matter of marriage, halacha kimoto or ein halacha kimoto? Do we follow the final stage of Jewish law by Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira or not? Ve'im timtze lomar. Now this is a safek, it's betoch safek, a quandary within the quandary. So if you tell me halacha kimoto, if you tell me that halacha follow him, meaning Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira, benisuim, or afilu bekidushin, with regard to marriage, or is it even with regard to betrothal? So now the Gemara reconciled it. Tachma, come and I bring you a proof. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira. He said that the halacha follow Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira, meaning that regardless if she marries someone else or she is the recipient of manner of betrothal from someone else, that automatically considering a refusal of the first one, and therefore since Shmuel needs to rule halacha and stated that we follow halacha against the majority of the sages by following Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira, therefore we understand Michlal de Flige. By inference, we understand that the sages disagree. So disagree in both rules, meaning the sages hold that regardless if it's matter of betrothal or matter of marriage, it's not considering a matter of refusal, and she is prohibited to the second one until she expresses clearly, unequivocally, the rejection of the first one. And therefore, since the majority of the sages rejected Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira in both laws, we hold that that's the reason why Shmuel, the luminary sage at that time, needs to rule, and he ruled in both cases by Rabbi Yehuda ben Beteira. But still you should raise the dilemma. Dahava nesiva meikara. Let's face it, if you tell me that when she had initially been married, so you talking about minor orphan, that she was originally married to the first husband, and it is sufficient with a light manner of refusal to reveal her intention that wants to break up the marriage, or dilma mikadesha. Maybe you speak about a minor orphan that betrothed to the first husband, and only if she is in a matter of solely betrothed, then a light refusal mi'unkal is enough to allow her to marry the second man. Tashma. Here is a very painful case of a person, they mention his name, and is a version why they mention him. There is a school of thought that said that he was this man, his name is Avdan, was a student of Rabbi, and he was punished because he didn't behave properly, that this happened to his two daughter-in-law. But anyway, the Kalatei de Abdan Imarud, you have the daughter-in-law of a fellow named Abadan, that they rejected or rebel against their husbands. Shadar Rabbi Zugei de Rabbanan lemivde kinehu. So Rabbi, the leader of that generation, of Yehuda Nasi, sent a pair of sages to examine them and determine what could be done to rectify the matter. Meaning, if they change their mind or they still rebel against their husbands. When they attend there, the sages, Amar lehu neshei. So you see, the overhead women said to those daughter-in-law of Avdan, Chazu gavraihu hu deka'atu. Look at your husbands that they return. So Amre lehu. So they said, Nehevu gavraihu didchu. So they respond and they said, the two daughter-in-law, they said, husband, you can have them. Right? So Rabbi, if that's the case, אין לך מיון גדול מזה. Is no more or deeper proof of rejection than this one. If they said, we don't want them to be our husbands, you can have them. Right? And they don't say it in the presence of their husband. So you basically here, you don't talk about any manner of forceful marriage, right? My love, the Havanesiva, you may say that they're not betrothed, they're married. And because they express that they're not interested in the husband, that considering as a refusal, even they didn't say clearly, I don't want to stay married or to be married to this man. So I mean, the Rabbi Dr. hold the same in a matter of marriage. Lo, you can't say the Hava Mikadesha Kiddushay, because they were merely betrothed, but as you see, they're not married. So the story cannot establish unequivocally what halacha is in the case when a girl is married. So they said, therefore, ve'halacha. So even though you don't have a proof, ve'halacha ki Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera v'afilu b'nesuim kama. So you go by Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, even if she had actually been married to the first man, the marriage is invalidated by her betrothed to another. Now the Gemara continue with the Mishnah. Rabbi Eliezer Omer that she's not considering her married by any manner, but she's only treated as a seduced woman. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Chozrani al kol tzadei chachamim. I went through the entire opinion of the sages concerning these matters. ולא מצאתי אדם שישבה מידותיו בקטנה. I couldn't find opinion of one single one that put the one clear midah, clear measurement of the rule of minor. כרבי אליעזר, שעשה רבי אליעזר כמטיילת עמו בחצר. That even she had cohabited with her husband in a manner of marriage, Rabbi Eliezer hold that she's like just walking in the garden with her husband, which means that it's all by rabbinic effectiveness, but nothing more. ועומדת מחיקו וטובלת. So it means that she is stand up from his bosom, which after he engaged in intercourse with her. So and then ואוכלת בתרומה לערב, which means she can eat in a truma if she's daughter of Kohen, even the husband is not. תניא רבי אליעזר אומר, אין מעשה קטנה כלום. All manner of betrothal, the marriage of minor girl is meaningless. Even by a rabbinic view, she cannot be considered as the man's wife. Ve'ein ba'ala zakai, and all this right of marriage, for example, the right over possessions, the ba'ala, the husband, is not entitled lo bimtziata, not for the object that she found, ve'lo b'maaseh yadea, if she makes a very high size income or whatever it is, he has no access to that. ולא בהפרת נדריה, not to annul her vows, which again, part of the right of a husband. ואינו יורשה, usually the husband inherited his wife. But here, because you talk about the minor, he cannot, because it's not considering ishut, a wife. ואין מיטמא לה, if it's a kohen, he cannot contaminate it to her after a passing. כללו של דבר, the general principle is as follows. אינה כאשתו לכל דבר, אלא שצריכה מיון. She is not treated as the person's wife in any manner, but she needs to be under the category of mi'un, that except that she must perform a refusal in order to marry someone else. So now Rabbi Yoshua have a different view. Rabbi Yoshua אומר בעלה זכאי במציאתה ובמעשה ידיה. He said the husband has right to items she finds and to and he said ובהפרת נדרה ויורשה, with annulling her vows and inheriting her, ומטמא לה, if it's kohen he can contaminate it to her. כללו של דבר הרי כי אשתו לכל דבר, treated as a husband wife, אלא שיוצאה במעון. The way for her to refuse the marriage is by rejecting the man, and she doesn't need get. אמר רבי נראים דברי רבי אליעזר מדברי רבי יהושע. It's appear that Rabbi Eliezer with his rationale makes more sense. שרבי אליעזר השווה מידותיו בקטנה ורבי יהושע חילק. So because Rabbi Eliezer applied a consistent standard with regard to a minor, Rabbi Yehuda, no. My chilek, what differentiate? Ishto tibai a get. If the wife, so we need to give her a get for, the regular manner of refusal, that they don't get along, they get a get, in order for her to marry someone outside of the family. The same regular manner of married woman, that she need to be released by having the bill of divorce, the get. Since that one is refused by the mi'un, right, by the regular rejected process, for sure it means that she's not considering as his regular legitimate wife. Rabbi Eliezer Name, it's appear that like it's inconsistent. If she's not considering his wife, she doesn't need even a miun. But shall she leave with no ritual at all? So you have some basic requirement that indicates that the relationship is permanently severed. So here's the standard of Eliezer ben Yaakov. And to dissolve in the need only indicate that she does not want her husband. Rabbi Yochanan is inconsistent in treating the relationship as a marriage, even though can be dissolved easily. Let's view in the Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said that any obstruction that is the better due to the man, so she's considering wife and vice versa. What do you mean by that? אמר רבי יהודה אמר שמואל תבעו על להינשא ואמרה מחמת פלוני בעלי זוהי עכבה שהיא מן האיש. Meaning by a rabbinic law she was married and someone proposed her. Now she married how? By her mother, by her brother, other people married her. And she says, I wish to, but how can I marry? They forced me to this marriage. So it means she's, in a way, you can consider her as a wife because she did not exercise the mi'un, she did not exercise the refusal. So therefore, she needs to go to mi'un process, to refusal process, in order to abrogate the matter of marriage. However, if she said, "Mechamad bnei adam she'enam mehuganin li," it's because they're not befitting my caliber, my category. Zohi akava she'inna min ha'ish, which means she said clearly, if I find a man that befitting my qualifications, I'll be more than happy to marry him. Meaning she rejected her husband, and therefore we do not consider her as a wife, but a total forceful marriage, because her words is basically a substitute word of mi'un, of refusal, rejection. Therefore you do not need to have second word of refusal following that one. It's even in the matter that in halacha it's called mesiach lefi tumo, person just speaking to other, and all of a sudden you get information that was not clear or hidden from you. Abaye baravin ורב חנינא baravin דאמרי התרוויו, נתן לה גט, זוהי עכבה שהיא מן האיש. If he gave her the get, so since she not expresses any refusal, she left him with the divorce, bill of divorce. She retroactively revealed to us that she was delayed because of that, which means by the moment she received that manner of bill of divorce, it's basically an affirmation of the total disconnectedness to the husband. והוא אסור בקרובותיה והיא אסורה בקרוביו. Now we enter the domain of the regular Leviticus 18, or which is prohibited relation with the family, meaning since they are divorced, therefore her immediate relatives, family, are prohibited to him, and vice versa. The same, we treat it the same manner as the regular pair, couple, husband, wife that divorce. And if he was a kohen, upsala min hakeuna, because the moment she or if she wants to marry a kohen, the moment she is divorcee, she cannot marry a kohen. Me'ana bo zoi akava she'ina min ha'ish, which means that she would never be his wife. והוא מותר בקרובותיה והיא מותרת בקרובה ולא פסלה מן הכהונה, because again that's reaffirmation of retroactive act. וברר הדבר למפרע is like the same manner as ברירה, that she was never married to him. So the Gemara challenged that. הקטן אלי כמן, we're going to study in the subsequent Mishnah, הממאנת באיש, if someone refused the husband, הוא מותר בקרובותיה והיא מותרת בקרובה ולא פסלה מן הכהונה. That's basically the reverse understanding. נתן לה גט, if he provided her the bill of divorce, הוא אסור בקרובותיה והיא אסורה בקרובה ופסלה מן הכהונה. So since you see here, the derivative act from that is the Mishnah not intend, otherwise why you need to repeat it twice. So they said parushei kamefaresh. The Mishnah just want to explain the later part of the Mishnah, which is if is release her with get, the boundaries against marry the relative in both parties versus mi'un, that is permitted. So since sometimes the Mishnayot said stam, just a general statement, they need sometimes to repeat and elaborate and clarify, extrapolate the point in order to make sure that it's clear. Now we go to the next several consequent order of a minor girl that released herself by the act of refusal. Mishnah said a minor girl, hamema'enet beish, she refuses a man, which is the husband, hu mutar bikrovoteh v'hi muteret bikrova v'lo psala min hakehuna. As we explained, that the whole idea of boundaries happen post-divorce process. Natan la get asur bikrovoteh v'asura bikrova v'psala min hakehuna. That's exactly the way we explain. Natan la get ve'echzira. Oh, now it's a different story. He gave this minor get, and then things turn around and he have her back. Me'ana bo v'niset le'acher, or in her corner she refused him and she marries someone else, and then v'nitar melao nitat grasha, from the second husband she lost the second husband, or she divorced the second husband. This is a rare situation that we go and said muteret lachazor lo, she allowed to go back to the first husband. In general, the Torah said to us in Deuteronomy 24 that divorced wife can be backed by her husband as long as she's not married someone else. Here is a different situation. This is a rabbinic marriage that happened under the special circumstance of minor, and therefore she allowed to return to him in this circumstance. מענה בו והחזירה, נתן לה גט ונישאת לאחר, ונתערבלה הרגשה, אסורה לחזור בו. However, if they go the other way around, she refused the first husband, and he have her back, then he gave her a get, and then she married someone else, and then she divorced or lost the second husband. In this case, since she left him by rejection, the first husband by the rejection, and then the second time when she was returned to him, second time she received then a get, so that was preceding the second time that she was back. You know, as like nowadays people breaking up, return, breaking up, return. So here in that sense, then it's like we treat it as a normal manner of marriage, and therefore she cannot return to the first one. We treat it the same manner as the Deuteronomy 24, מחזיר גרושתו משנישאת לאחר. The moment you return the divorcee, you cannot do that at that stage, because this is already second time involved with the get, so, and involved with the second marriage, which in a way is the third relationship she had, and then she lost or divorced her husband. That's too late to have the first one back. Chet Amud Bet, 108b, the Mishnah said, זה הכלל. This is the principle. So I explained in my book, ביאורי כלומר ברש"י על הש"ס, Rashi have an issue here. He said, כלומר, אפילו פעמים הרבה גרשה והחזירה ומענה. So Rashi have a problem, because the Mishnah already, you have very clear list of those dinim. So why you need this Tana to repeat it? So Rashi said, even if this person return and do that again, which is the get, the mi'un, several times, the same rule apply in that way, which is, even she's married him and she left him several times, get achar mi'un, which means the last time she left with get, אסורה לחזור לו. She cannot return to him. מי'ון אחר גט, מותר לחזור בו. לחזור. לא, she can return to him. Another important הלכה, דין, הממאנת באיש, if a minor girl refuses one man, ונישאת לאחר, and marries another, וגרשה לאחר, and he divorces her, and then she married ומענה בו, she married another man and refuses him, ולאחר וגרשה לאחר ומענה בו, and again she married another man and divorces her. So again, I'm using the book today, it's Rashi said here, כלומר וחזרה ונישאת לשלישי ומענה בו. So Rashi wants to make sure that the idea of shlishi, the third one, it means that after she divorced from the second one, and the mi'un applies to the third one, then she can return to the first one, because she did only act of mi'un with the first one. You're welcome to read more in my book. Anyway, so they said, וגרשה לאחר ומענה בו, זה הכלל. כל שיוצא ממנו בגט אסורה לחזור בו, ומי'un מותר לחזור בו. This is a very general principle. They said, as long as she lives by means of get, of bill of divorce, it is prohibited for her to return to him. But if she lives by means of refusal, she is permitted to return to him. Alma, so the Gemara said, you derive from that. Ate mi'un umevatel get. You see here the refusals come and abrogated, total, nullified the bill of divorce, because this is a retroactive act that all the manner of kiddushin that took place up to this point, it's basically ma'aseh ktana, it's a manner of the minor that doesn't resonate anything. The book called Netivot elaborates on that and try to bring the stages how exactly this ma'aseh ktana take place and when we recognize that. Anyway, veraminhi. Now you see a contradiction to the last clause. Hamema'enet be'ish veniset le'acher. If a minor girl refuses one man and marries another, vegersha, and the second one divorced her, le'acher u'me'ana bo, le'acher vegersha le'acher u'me'ana bo. That's what we said in the Mishnah. זה הכלל כל שיצתה ממנו בגט אסור לחזור בו, במיעון מותר לחזור בו. The principle is, if she left him with the bill of divorce, she is already in that manner total cut, sefer kritut, therefore is no return, versus if it's a refusal, the door is still open. Alma, lo ate mi'un dechavre, the refusals that took place with the other fellow, ubatel gita didei, that's not annul the bill of divorce, because we are prohibited her to return to whoever break up with her with the get, even it was mi'un, a refusal that followed the get. That you cannot say that the manner of mi'un has any manner of annulment to the get that preceded it, even that you have a retroactive betrothal that took place earlier, because we treated it as ma'aseh ktana, a manner which a minor girl involved in action. So in the conclusion, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Tavra, you see here a contradiction between the two dinim. Rabbeinu Chanel said it's like manner of an oath. Mi sheshana zo lo shana zo, meaning the one in the first clause, the Tana of the Reisha hold that the manner of refusal have a retroactive act of uprooting the previous betrothal that broke up with the bill of divorce, and the Tana and the Seifa, the last clause, hold that the manner of refusal is not uprooted kiddushin, a betrothal that annulled by the get. Amar Rava, or there are some said Rabbah, umay kushia. What's the difficulty here? ודילמה מאון דידי מבטל גט דידי, מאון דחברי לא מבטל גט דידי. You may hold that her refusal of him nullified his get, while her refusal of the other man does not nullify the original husband get. So you see here, the Gemara elaborates. So why? Which means that the Gemara in Yoma 19, they say that they have a way that they wink, right? They, how do you say in the modern day, secret admirer. It's all kind of a
wink and a nod.
Right. So he may seduce her until she reach a point that she refused the second one, and then he bring her back to him, because they have like a code, they have a secret code between the two. They are in relationship earlier. So since he have this relationship, no one recognizes what he does with his eyes, with the facial expression, etc. And he basically seduce her indirectly and convince her to have her back. So in order to avoid it, they put a decree that manner of refusal with the second husband cannot uproot the betrothed of the first husband, and therefore she is prohibited to return to him the same manner as machzir grushato, someone who returned his divorcee. Tosfot elaborates. Anyway, we're running out of time. So the Gemara said, "Me'un didei namelo libatel gita didei de'ayde demakeret b'rimotzotav v'kiritzotav azal mushabesh ma'itla." So since you have the same manner if he divorced her, and she have a mi'un with the other man, so how come Rava differentiate between these cases? And the truth is, it's not a contradiction between the two dinim in the Mishnah. Hakvar shabsha velo ishabsha. You have a chance to do it, and she not seduced, but she only refused and she left. So now you have no concern that it will be a retroactive act of return. Ela ikashya dechavrei achavrei ikashya. If you have an issue, is the contradiction between one halacha involving another man and halacha involving another man, which is מענה בו והחזירה, נתן לה גט ונישאת לאחר ונתרמלה או נגרשה, אסורה לחזור. That's what we said, אסורה לחזור לו in the original text in the Mishnah. So what do we understand? תעמד ונתרמלה או נגרשה, the whole story is because she divorced or lost her husband. The story is it's because she either lost or divorced the second husband. So therefore, hamei anna, if she refused the second one, muteret לחזור לו, she now can return to the first husband. You know, she thought that the grass of the neighbors are better, so she went to the second man. and then she realized the second man is not good, so she refused it. So now the door of the first man is still open, right? Alma atem yun de chavrem vatel gidadidei. Veramini now have a contradiction. How? He said, הממיינת באיש ונישאת לאחר וגירשה לאחר ומענה בו. So you see here, זה הכלל כל שעשתה ממנו בגט אסורה לחזור בו. That's what we said, במיעון מותר לחזור, ועלמא לא אתם מיעון לחברם ותל גדל. That's exactly what we said. So in conclusion, אמר רבי אלעזר, תעברה משנה זו לשנה זאת. That's basically repeats what we said. אולה אמר כגון ששילשה בגיטין, which means that manner happened 3 times with the get. דמחזיה כגדולה, that appear like the mature one. So therefore the manner of mi'un, the refusal, not uprooted the betrothed and the get of the previous husband. Man Tana, who is the one who matched this view of Rabbi Elazar? Amar Rabbi Yehuda Marav Man dechtiv. This is a text that's written in the book of Job, chapter 5, verse 4. Meimenu bechesef shatinu, etzenu b'mechir yavo. The pasuk said, we have drunk our water for money, our wood comes to us for a price. So that's the idea. It's implying that Torah, which is the analogous to water, can be purchased with money. So Bishat Sakana, time of the decree that people cannot study Torah, Nitbaksha halacha zo. So they request this halacha, הרי שיצא מראשון בגט, ומשני במעון, מהו שתחזור לראשון? If the first husband gave her a get, second husband she exercised her refusal, now is any room for her to go back to the first husband? שכרו אדם אחד ב400 זוז, ושאלו את רבי עקיבא בית האסורים, they hired individual for a lot of money, and they asked him to go close to the prisons, the Roman prisons, and behind the door, scene, or whatever it is, ask him that question. And they asked ve'asar, and it prohibited. At Rabbi Dr. ben Tzivin ve'asar, they asked another rabbi from the martyrs, and he also prohibited. אמר רבי שמואל ברבי יוסי, לזו לא הצרכנו לאיסור כרת היתרת, לאיסור לאו לא יקשקר שכן. If they prohibited relation with a married woman, it's involved by having union, she can release from her husband and marry someone without get, because as we said at the manner of mi'un, the refusal discovered to us retroactively that the betrothed, it's ma'aseh, it's something that has no effect because she's a minor girl. So if it's a negative commandment that prohibited the man to have back his divorcee, or kol sheken, that by having the manner of mi'un, the refusal, paved the way to tell us that this manner of betrothal or divorce doesn't have any effect because she was basically a minor girl, which makes a lot of sense because those girls, especially at that age, they don't develop the what do you want to do when you grow up? What is your plans? They have no idea. So it means that their understanding, their comprehension is not as you cannot treat it as a regular adult. ברם כך שאלו, that's the question they ask. הרי שאתה אשת אחי אמו שהיא שנייה לו ונשא אחיו מאביו המת, that's the case we discussed at the early stage of יבמות, and his brother had no children ונפלה לעבר ייבום, מהו שתמהם? השתה. So now she can act in a manner of refusal now for the first marriage that she נשואה to a brother of the mother, ותעקרינו לנישואין כמי, and they uprooted the original marriage, and she will not be prohibited to that yavam as isur shniyot, the second level, second decree of marriage. V'tityabem, and the co-wife can do ייבום. And here is this each side of the ספק, the doubt. יש מיון לאחר מיתה במקום מצווה או לא? Is that okay to do מיון after the mitzvah of the ייבום, which means to have retroactive hafka'ah, and she allowed to act in a levirate marriage toward him, or you do not say mi'un after passing even in order to have her back to Yavam. So again you can say that it's a different version. רב יצחק ברשיין הוא מודה רב שמותרת לאחיו של זה שנאסרה עליו. Rav agreed that she is allowed to marry the brother. here we understand it, I'm sure, even better. We have full of situations. You have situation that reflection of this situation that we have in one of the cases that I was involved recently. You know what? I'm not so sure if it's good or not to mention, so let's continue. אמר רבי יצחק ברשיין, they invite me sometime to sit on a bed din, so anyway, הוא מודה רב שמותרת לאחיו של זה שנאסרה עליו. פשיטה, הוא ניהו דמכרת ברמזותיו וקריצותיו, אבל אחיו לא. מה עוד אתם על גזרה, התוואי כמשמע לה. רבי יצחק ברשיין hold that she allowed to the divorced brother, and you do not have that decree that prohibited there. ויקא דאמרי, there is a version opposite, אמר רבי יצחק ברשיין, אמר רב, כשם שהיא אסורה לו, same way that she is prohibited to him, כך אסורה לאחים. Obviously, the same prohibition applies to the brothers. אינה מכירה בכריזותינו גמוזיהם. She knows this brother, all this hinting way of relationships. And since they are proved that they get in the kiddushin by mi'un of the other husbands, so they said Gzera Echava to who? You see here that they put a decree to a brother of the divorcee, rabbinic decree, that concerning the ex-husband brothers to do to him. The ex-husband, if she were to be permitted to her ex-husband brothers, people may mistakenly think that she is even permitted to remarry the ex-husband himself. And that's what they want to avoid, so that's the reason for that gzera.
So I fully understand. For Rabbi Akiva is ruling that she's forbidden to go back to her husband. So that in that situation, her husband gives her a get, and then there's miyun with another man. Are they assuming that miyun is after she had relations with that other man, or before?
Makes no difference for that.
But why is she then forbidden to the first husband if she hasn't had relations with anyone else?
The view here is the people misconstrue the whole relationships.
Okay,
the moment
so
you
that's
provide
it.
a get is over.
Because I mean, normally under normal circumstances, if she, as long as she didn't cohabit with the other man.
How do you determine how people go?
Well, no, I'm just saying under normal circumstances, she could return to her ex-husband if she hasn't been with another man.
Not so simple. It's a big discussion. But
there's more of a okay. In the normal
general,
situation, there's more of a discussion.
Very general.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Sure.
you.
ויחם לשולוים מלאכי השולוים מלאכי